Oh, was being backed up by the rights by Owens, and then a right by Roman, went for the Superman.
Welcome back to the Action Zone. You're watching Undisputed Wrestling Desk, where WWE comes alive. Subscribe and get ready for the latest updates. What do you call the moment when three men who once tried to destroy each other suddenly stand united with one purpose so shocking that the entire arena feels too small to contain it? Tonight on Monday Night Raw, something that wasn't supposed to be possible became reality. The WWE Universe didn't just watch a storyline, they witnessed an explosion that instantly rewrote the landscape of professional wrestling. It was a detonation that will be analyzed, replayed, and argued about for years to come. The calm before the chaos. It began like any other night in the WWE Universe. Bright lights, roaring fans, and Paul Heyman in the center of the ring. Confident, composed, and surrounded by his newly built Vision faction, Heyman strutted into the spotlight with Brock Lesnar towering beside him. His words dripped with arrogance. He declared that his faction was not just dominant, it was the very future of WWE. In his mind, Survivor Series wasn't a question of victory, it was a foregone conclusion. Heyman believed he had created an unbreakable empire, a corporate machine designed to control WWE from the inside. As he spoke, his tone carried the certainty of a man who thought he had already won. The crowd booed, but he smiled. It was the confidence before the storm. The arrogance before history flipped itself inside out. The lights go out. Then, without warning, everything changed. The arena went dark, not dim, but black. Total silence washed over the audience. You could feel every heartbeat freeze. For a moment, even the commentators stopped speaking. It was as if time itself had paused, waiting for what was about to happen next. When the lights snapped back on, standing at the top of the ramp was Jon Moxley. The reaction was immediate and thunderous. Fans screamed, cameras flashed, and the energy inside the building transformed from confusion to chaos. But before anyone could process Moxley's return, two more figures emerged. From the left side of the stage walked Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, calm, composed, radiating authority. From the right came Jimmy Uso, eyes blazing with intensity, his expression a mixture of anger, redemption, and unfinished business. Three men defined by rivalry. Three men whose pasts were soaked in betrayal and blood. Three men who swore they'd never share the same ring again. Yet here they stood, shoulder to shoulder, united. You wanted a war. The moment felt unreal. The audience roared as Moxley walked straight toward the ring, microphone in hand. His face was cold, focused, and unflinching. Without theatrics or hesitation, he stared directly at Paul Heyman and spoke 5 words that changed WWE's trajectory. You wanted a war. Congratulations. He paused, smirked slightly, and continued. You just got one, and we're bringing chaos with us. In that single statement, everything shifted. This was not a reunion of old friends or a nostalgic callback to a past faction. It was something entirely new. A fragile ceasefire between men united not by peace, but by purpose. A dangerous alliance. This wasn't the Shield. It wasn't the bloodline. It was something far more volatile. Jon Moxley represented pure unpredictability and raw violence, a man who thrives in chaos and fears nothing. Roman Reigns brought strategy, control, and the presence of a commander who has led empires. Jimmy Uso was the emotional anchor, driven by loyalty, redemption, and the desire to reclaim his identity. Together, they were not a team. They were a lit fuse. The message was clear. Paul Heyman's Vision faction had started a war it might not survive. Paul Heyman's world cracks. For years, Heyman had been the puppet master behind WWE's most powerful factions, but tonight, that control shattered. The look on his face said everything, a rare mix of disbelief and fear. His so-called corporate dynasty, built on manipulation and dominance, was suddenly staring down an alliance that defied logic. Brock Lesnar stood ready in the ring, jaw tight, eyes locked on the 3 men at the ramp. He had faced all of them before, but never together. For the first time, even the beast incarnate looked uncertain. The Vision faction, moments ago invincible, suddenly looked exposed. Survivor Series becomes a Warzone Survivor Series was never meant to be this kind of battlefield. It's now more than a pay-per-view. It's an ideological war. On one side stands Paul Heyman's corporate empire, built on control, strategy, and manipulation. On the other side stands chaos, unfiltered, unpredictable, and united by survival rather than friendship. It's corporate domination versus rebellion, precision versus instinct, order versus anarchy. This isn't about championships or contracts anymore. It's about power, who defines it, who deserves it, and who's willing to burn everything to claim it. The symbolism of the moment. For fans who have followed WWE, AEW, and every chapter of these men's careers, this moment carried deep symbolism. Jon Moxley, once Dean Ambrose of The Shield, had walked away from WWE years ago to find his freedom. Roman Reigns had evolved into a tribal chief, a calculating leader whose every move shaped the company. Jimmy Uso had walked a path of heartbreak and redemption, constantly fighting to define his own legacy. Now, all three stood together, proof that history doesn't end, it transforms. Their alliance was less about forgiveness and more about necessity. The forbidden doors open. Perhaps the most powerful part of this alliance is what it represents for the future of wrestling. The boundaries that once divided companies, stories, and universes no longer seem impenetrable. If Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, and Jimmy Uso can stand side by side, then anything feels possible. The walls between WWE and AEW, between the past and the present, between rivals and allies, those walls aren't there anymore. They've become doors, and tonight, those doors swung wide open. The new era of unpredictability. In one night, WWE transformed from predictable to explosive. This wasn't about reliving the past, it was about rewriting the rules. Moxley's chaos, Roman's dominance, and Jimmy's loyalty have created a formula that no corporate faction can control. This alliance is a living paradox. Three men who should never coexist, yet together, they redefine what's possible in wrestling storytelling. They're not here to make peace. They're here to make noise, to tear down the system that tried to control them, and to remind the world that chaos is sometimes the purest form of freedom. What happens next? The world is watching. The WWE Universe is buzzing with questions. How long can this fragile alliance hold? Will betrayal strike again? What will Paul Heyman do next? And how will Survivor Series handle the collision between order and anarchy? One thing is certain, the old WWE power structure no longer exists. A new game has begun, and no one, not even Paul Heyman, knows the rules anymore. The night, everything changed. As Monday Night Raw went off the air, the three stood united. Moxley staring into the ring, Roman standing tall beside him, Jimmy clenching his fists in silent defiance. The crowd's roar was deafening. For the first time in years, WWE felt truly unpredictable again. Tonight wasn't about nostalgia or revenge. It was about evolution. The wrestling world just got bigger, louder, and more dangerous. Jon Moxley is back. Roman Reigns is done watching from the sidelines. Jimmy Uso has chosen blood and purpose over everything else. Together, they are challenging Paul Heyman's empire. And tonight was only the beginning. When enemies unite, when worlds collide, and when chaos becomes the only rule, you don't just watch history, you witness it.